Oh, good morning, boys and ghouls. It's your friend, Luis. Some of you may know me from my illustration endeavors under the name Luisifer, and others of you may know me because of my band Teething, based out of Madrid, Spain. Um, you know what? I'm not really into these intros and outros so much. I like focusing more on the interview section, so I'm gonna get straight to the point with this. Today's guest is Will Butler of To Live a Lie Records. Super busy man. He's been running this record label since 2005, which mostly specializes in fast hardcore, power violence, grindcore, and all of that stuff we love. He runs it out of his house in Raleigh, North Carolina, so it's very much a DIY operation. Not only that, he's been in many bands, but we focus a lot on his most recent band, which is Tired of Everything. After the interview, we're gonna be playing a show. No, not a show. We're gonna be playing a song, just because I think it's fitting. I really like when I hear that on the podcast I listen to. Hopefully, I won't have any sort of like uploading copyright issues. As Will says on this podcast, I'll have no problem just playing his tunes here, so that's great. So this is a really fun interview. We talk about vegan treats, we talk about cinnamon rolls, we talk about morning pizza, we talk about buying skate shoes, we talk about discovering punk and hardcore, we talk about To Live a Lie. We just go down memory lane because we play this like pretty fun game, if you will, where I pull out a bunch of records going from Realize to DOC to Regional Justice Center to ACXDC to The Kill to Nashgul. We cover it all. He shares like really interesting stories about how a lot of these releases came about. And yeah, we even talk about a scarf he made for To Live a Lie, about the latest Gasp 7-inch, about the latest Chulo discography. It's a long one, this one, but I think it's a long one for a reason. So without further ado, do 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 do. So, Will, what's up? How's it going? How's your Saturday going so far?
Hey, it's a good Saturday here. It's 1 p.m. my time, so it's the afternoon. Saturdays are usually my label work day, but things have been so crazy that it's been sort of a label working week. Basically afternoons after I'm out of work at 5, I've done label work, so I really only had one or two things to slap together. So I actually got to work out for once and enjoy the day a little bit, drinking a little coffee. I finally get to have a real weekend for once.
Nice, yeah, because we were talking the other day and you told me that Saturdays were your To Live a Life day. So you seem pretty organized with the label.
It's like disorganized. It's like organized chaos is the best I can say. If I could bring the camera and show you the label room, which is over in this room, it's chaotic. It's supposed to just be a bedroom, but it's filled with records, and some covers are here, some of the vinyl is over here. I know how it works together, but it's a mess. I like having a Saturday morning work routine because then I can focus on my day job, and uh, then Saturday is focused on the label, and then Sunday is my down day, and then it just sort of repeats over and over.
Yeah, I'm well aware of your headquarters. I love how you run everything super DIY. You're just doing the mail order on your bed or wherever you can find a space. That's really cool. So
Yeah,
sorry, go ahead.
I was gonna say the bed packing up has been a thing I've done for a while, just because it's a nice big surface. I know my girlfriend would rather me have a more formal desk and have stuff elsewhere, but I own my house she lives here, and I unfortunately take up a lot of space. It's sort of a smaller house, and the label. I guess I don't take a lot of space. The label takes up a lot of space.
Right, you're a simple man, but your label is big business. So there you go. So I'm gonna get into a brief introduction of you for those listeners who don't know who Will is. You interject at any moment. Let me know if I'm missing anything. So Will, as you can see, is a very busy man. He's been running a record label called To Live a Lie since 2005, if I'm correct.
That's correct.
And To Live a Lie is one of my favorites. It specializes in mostly fast hardcore, dabbles a lot in power violence, grindcore, and so on. It's very much a one-man DIY operation based out of your house in North Carolina.
Hmm.
Nice. So not only
I get a little help from my friends here and there. My girlfriend helped with the stuffing tapes for this recent spy tape release, which I've been putting out a couple records lately that sell out in a day. So the spy tape, which I have just one sitting right here, which is the only leftover one, and I want to say that sold out in like 4 hours. She helped me stuff them into the nice little bubble mailers and got those out this week.
wow, and how much was the pressing for the spy tape?
This is the second pressing of 100. The first pressing was 100. I'm doing a vinyl pressing of it, so I at this point I probably should have done more tapes in the second pressing, but I figure keep those sort of limited. Do the vinyl, still keep that a little limited. Pressing 500 copies, see how that goes, and if that's as crazy as I expect that to also be, I assume I'll do a repressing.
Very cool. But I'm guessing the LP you're gonna be pressing the same songs or any bonus tracks?
It's gonna be a 7 inch. It's sort of I guess it's generally a demo for them. Same songs, artwork sort of expanded to have new artwork from the same artist on the back. Um, some I can't remember if there are lyrics in the tape or not. I probably should remember that. Repressing a tape, I sort of just ship it back
Right.
off and don't really remember, but pretty much the same stuff, just on a 7 inch. I talked the band down to a tape because I'm like, well, I think they just started playing shows before COVID hit, so tape's safe. And then the tape did great, and I'm like, all right, we gotta do a 7 inch out of this.
Excellent. So I haven't gotten the chance to listen to this record yet. I've seen you've been posting a lot about it. The artwork really caught my eye. It looks very cool. And how did for example, your relationship with Spine, how did that come about?
I mean, so a lot of releases I sort of broker those differently. Uh, Spy has the singer of Spy plays second bass, or I can't remember if he's the normal bass player in World Peace. So they played here. It was sort of a last minute setup show. I was like a big fanboy, like, oh my God, I love World Peace. I think I did their tape and it sold out instantly. I probably should repress that as well, a collection tape. And then he approached me about the spy stuff, and it had a different sound than I was expecting. It's sort of more stompy, hardcore, and I think they just hit at the right time, and people are really excited about them. I mean, it's good stompy hardcore. Uh, it seems like with bands like Gulch and etc. getting really popular in the States, that uh, people are looking for that kind of music, and people are excited about the tape, obviously, because I sold 2 pressings pretty much instantly, and people message me all the time asking me when the pre-orders for the 7 inch are going to start.
Nice. So like I'll definitely be checking this record out, especially the 7 inch. I'll probably pick that up. but I wanted to ask you also about well, you know what, we're gonna get later, we're gonna deep a bit, we're gonna dig a bit a big we're gonna dig a bit deeper
Deeper.
in in your catalog later. So because I wanted to ask you about even your new releases, even about the Gasp one, the your record, the Tired of Everything, but we'll get into that later. Because let's go back a bit. I was introducing what you do. So not only do you run To Live a Lie, you've also been in several bands, whether it's doing vocals or doing bass or maybe even like noise electronics, correct?
Yep, I've done some of all of that. I'll start out by saying I've done the label for so long. I feel very confident with the label. I started playing bass in bands since I was 16, but uh, I don't know how to describe this. I sort of see directions of things. Like I started the label and I really like had a vision for that. As far as being a musician, I've just been like it's something that's casual for me. Like some people love like mastering their instruments and doing that stuff, and I really haven't ever like I played when I was 16. I went off to college, and then after college, you sort of like realize that the world's back open to you. Like you're not worried about doing well. You're worried about finding a job. But I was like, oh yeah, I guess I could pick up playing bass again. It's been like a number of years, and I just sort of dropped that. Like obviously, I can't keep my like high school band anymore. But so I looked for musicians and found people in who are into sort of completely different music, and it just felt sort of weird. Um, and then a handful of years ago, uh, found people that had already started a power violence band, and I'm like, oh man, like this guy played in. I'm starting to space out right now. His band name just totally fell out of my head. Gas Chamber
Okay.
and some other notable bands, and I was excited, and uh, I was like, I gotta reach out to this guy. I gotta see if he needs a bass player for whatever he's doing. And he had already started a band where the bass player flaked out. So I was playing bass in that. I did a 7-inch for that band. Band name is Occident.
Okay.
And then that fell apart as bands sometimes do.
Mm-hmm.
And then I saw a guy I was acquainted with posted looking for a bass player and a singer. And I was like, hey, I'd love to try out for the band. And I think I showed up, and I think he expected me to bring a bass rig and a bass, but I'm like, no, I'm trying to sing for a band. Like I've never done it. I don't feel very confident in it, but it I'm in my late 30s now. I feel like now's the like if I was ever to sing for a band, it's now.
It's time. Yeah.
So
So it worked out great, right?
yeah, I had to get my chops first. Like I showed up to practice. I figured out what songs they had already written, recorded them on like a handheld recorder, listened to them all. Still living this busy life where I work 40-hour work week and do the label, but I want to say it was like a Labor Day or some day I had off, and I wrote uh, lyrics for 5 songs. Um, being new at writing and etc., I think I did a pretty good job, but I wrote the lyrics, had the recorded songs. I didn't do scratch tracks to hear how I wrote them, and I got really confused. Like I think the band called songs like song 1, song 2, song 3 the way, I mean, there's no lyrics, there's no reason to call it anything. And I think I got them real out of order, and then thought my lyrics were out of order. So I had to relearn my intent on the lyrics for the songs, and really like I had the timbre in my head when I wrote them, and then got busy again, and then had to learn what I did to see if they were even usable. uh, I figured it out again after confusion about song order and what I wrote. And really showed up to band practice and was sat around for a couple of them, sort of like talking them in my head. I
Hmm.
know I'm talking a lot right now, but I'm a introvert by
Okay.
nature. I'm very
Hmm.
shy. I'm quiet. I'll go to shows. I'll stand in the back. I'm sort of a wallflower. So,
I think that happens
uh,
a lot in our scene. I'd consider myself like that as well. All good.
yeah, I take inspiration. I know this is like a really generic inspiration, but I know Milo from the Descendants was just awkward, stood with his back to the audience with his hand in his pocket. I'm like, well, that gives me just as
Exactly.
much credence to get out there as anyone else.
Sorry
So
for the interruption, but did you check out the documentary?
the Descendants All documentary,
Yes.
or
Yes, that
yes,
one. Very
yeah,
cool. Very
it's
cool.
pretty
Yeah, that's
cool.
where I learned all about how he was, but you could get that vibe from him anyways. Sorry, I
Yeah,
didn't want to
so
cut you off. You were going on about vocalist, your vocalist duties.
yeah, so where am I? So I was sort of singing them in my head, which sounds really dumb. Uh Building up to finally feeling very comfortable with one song and being like, okay, um I guess to scroll back, the band members would bring their girlfriends, which it's sort of nice to have an audience, but not when you're like, I don't know about this. So finally I
Right.
was like, okay, let me try out vocal duties, and got had one song I wrote about veganism. I felt comfortable enough singing and did it. And then, I mean, part about being in a band is like elevating your uh co-bandmates. So they were like, man, that was great, that's so
For
sick.
sure,
Like,
for sure.
so that gave me a little more to like, okay, now let me try this song. And like, you do that whole like, I have the lyrics in front of me either on a piece of paper or a phone, and I work out of an office, so I can print stuff pretty easily. So I probably like had it out and then threw it on the floor, and then eventually you just have most of it or part of it in your head where you might glance down, and then it's in your head. So
That that's awesome. It seems like that was the right fit. You know, you had your bandmates just like giving you the proper thumbs up you needed, which gave you the confidence, and here you are releasing Tired of Everything 7 inches and everything. So fuck yeah,
yeah,
props for that.
yeah, we did lathes and tapes, so no
Oh,
official
okay.
vinyl pressing, but um, I I'm hesitant to release my own stuff sometimes. Like I'd like someone else to say, "Hey, I love this. I want to release this." But I think it got out there enough in the world. At this point, a lot of people just listen to things digitally
Makes sense.
anyway.
Makes sense. So this band you were talking about, was this Tired of Everything? The one you were
Uh,
just referencing right now?
yes.
Okay, okay. Because I was going on a rabbit hole, and I saw you were part of Dead Body Men, but I think you were playing bass there.
Yeah, that's my band when I was 16 years old.
Ah,
I
okay,
was young.
okay, okay. So Will, first of all, happy Edge Day.
Yeah, I wore my Youth of Today hat just
Fuck
because it's
yeah,
Edge Day.
represent. And so we started rambling on, which is great, that's what, for me, that's what podcasts are all about. But usually I begin these things with a pretty cool icebreaker, which is one of my favorite topics in the world, which is food. So
Okay.
I wanted to ask you if you prefer sweet or salty food.
uh Usually sweet. I've got a sweet tooth. As I get older, I feel like I know I need to limit it. Like I usually go to Whole Foods and get healthier type
Gotcha.
stuff. But I mean, if there's um my town isn't the most vegan friendly town in the world. Like it's decent, but I there's one place that you have to pre-order vegan donuts, and you can get vegan donuts if you've prepared, which I don't always prepare. So
Nice.
um the amount of sweets that I could eat are limited by their scarcity where I am. Um,
Okay. Okay. So do you have a favorite? So my next question is, do you have a favorite sweet?
I do.
Please
uh,
share.
100%. A really good cinnamon roll is
Oh,
just the best thing. Like the right amount of yeastiness, like doughy, but not in the way that's undercooked. It's like when you get to the center and it's
Yeah,
like puffy and just hot. Yeah,
for
good
sure,
cinnamon roll is definitely like
for sure.
that
Me,
spot for me.
my friend Chus Maestro, and me, that's our go-to thing when we're feeling like sneaky and just like fuck it, fuck it. Saturday night, let's do it. Let's go get like a fucking excellent cinnamon roll. Do you have like a place where you live what that has
No.
like the no? Where have you tried the best cinnamon roll ever? Or maybe
I've
you've made it. I don't know.
so I've been to there's a place called Vegan Treats out of Pennsylvania that ships their stuff down to like if you go to New York or Philly to a vegan type place,
Hmm.
their stuff is generally available. It's been shipped, so it's probably the next day. But I happened to go up to a wedding up near Vegan Treats and went there a number of times. And this is weird that I'm explaining all this and gonna say that they're not the best
Okay.
cinnamon roll. I would expect them to be. I can't remember if I got one from there or not. But there is a vegan bakery in near Virginia Beach, Virginia, called My Vegan Sweet Tooth, and
Ooh.
it just looks like a standard bakery in a strip mall, but uh, however they do their cinnamon rolls, I think it's like completely bathed in sugar and then just is sort of wet from the sugar cinnamon mixture. But shout outs to that place
Fuck
for
yeah.
having the best cinnamon roll I can think of. I mean, most vegan cinnamon rolls hit that spot generally pretty well, but that one was just like that sticky, gooey.
Fuck yeah.
Uh, I don't think I even brought it back to the hotel room to like heat it up. I think I got a couple and then like
Just
no, maybe I
devoured
did
it.
have yeah. I didn't think to heat them up, but I'm sure they would have been like even better if you threw them in the oven for like 3 minutes or something.
Excellent. So shout out to My Vegan Sweet Tooth. And
Yep.
Vegan Treats was the name of the other place?
Oh yeah,
Okay.
Vegan Treats is the other place.
If you
Um,
ever may if COVID ever goes away and you're able to come to Madrid, Spain, um you have to try this place called Delicious Vegan Donuts, where they just make every day it's different donuts. It's run by two really sweet girls, and every morning they wake up at like 4 in the morning and make a different selection every day, and they're usually sold out by before lunchtime. So
that's awesome.
highly recommended.
Yeah, since we're shouting out stuff, there the place here in Raleigh is called Lousy Hunters Donuts, and I think they do a similar thing. They take pre-orders the day before. They wake up early. They leave it out on a table for you to carefully run up and grab the one with your name during COVID and take it with you.
I don't know about you, but I'm getting pretty hungry right now.
I ate some pizza earlier, so I'm
Okay.
totally fine. And I think half the reason I'm so talkative is I'm drinking a little bit of coffee too.
Pizza and coffee, dude. And you know what they say, morning pizza is the best pizza. Was it cold?
uh, Here's another thing I've learned as I gotten older. Cold pizza is great, but reheating pizza sometimes is even better than when it was cooked before because it gets that
Yeah,
crispy crust around it.
for
So
sure. Yeah, for sure. My trick is I turn on the oven for like 10 minutes. I'll turn it off. And when it's on the off mode, I'll just leave it in there for like 5 to 7 minutes, and it gets that crispy touch I'm looking for. After
awesome.
this conversation, because it's 7:30 here, I'm gonna be making homemade pizza with my girlfriend. So looking forward to that.
And
And
it's
to the
seven
next morning pizza.
it's 7:38 a.m., correct?
PM.
PM. Okay, it looks bright where you are, so
Oh
that's
yeah,
what
because
threw me.
Spain is pretty cool with sunlight and all of that. We're lucky with weather and stuff. So, okay, enough. Even though I could talk about food all day, I think let's talk about some punk and hardcore.
Yeah, that
So,
makes sense.
do you recall discovering punk and hardcore?
Yeah. So the first thing I discovered was, I mean, we sort of all went through these like uh juvenile phases where you didn't really know stuff. Like I guess you would say you're a poser once or whatever you would say.
For
But
sure.
the first thing is I think I accidentally asked my mom to buy me a pair of skate shoes, and then all the skaters are like, "Hey, what's up? You skate, right?" And you're like, "Yeah, I sure. Like, yep, I skate." So I got I think my brother had like an 80s skate deck that was pink, and then went through the ranks of, okay, I got a real skate deck that is modern, and okay, now I can ollie, now I can kickflip. Anyway, I got good enough to sort of go out into the world and discover the skate spots. And this was the 90s, so we didn't really listen to music as we were skateboarding. Like, no one really brought like a tape deck or anything like that out there, but people talked about music. And I found that people either listen to skaters either listen to sort of radio rap, not
Okay.
hip hop, even though I've noticed that really good hip hop's prevalent in like
Hmm.
411 Skate magazine and stuff like that. You either listen to radio rap or punk. So that sort of led me to when CDs first came out. I went to I got a CD player, I think from my parents, and then you got to buy your first media for it. And I was like, the stuff that drew me towards it was like a big like display of, I think Green Day Dookie had just come out. And I'm like, wow, that looks cool. Like there's like Pink Floyd, something came out. There was this came out. There was Green Day Dookie. There was Offspring Smash. So I got Offspring and Green Day and was started down that path. I think that was a decent starting path, but I think the big game changer was getting the Minor Threat discography. Like once you hear that, that's pretty much a good path into hardcore punk
Oh
rather
yeah,
than like melodic or pop punk. And then
exactly.
you just start rabbit holing. And these were pre-internet days. You could go and like sample CDs and some like CD listening stations back then, but you pretty much just had to guess whether a CD was good before you bought it. And sometimes you won, sometimes you lost.
So would you say what drew you to both Dookie and Smash were the artwork, the covers?
I think I somehow had some knowledge of what they were, like some vague knowledge. I don't feel like Offspring Smash, I don't feel like the cover is very attractive at all, so I'm not
Truth.
entirely sure. Maybe I bought Dookie at first because it does have an interesting looking cover, and then maybe I was either advertised. I can't remember if they both came out on Epic or Reprise or what labels put those out, but somehow I connected the dots to buy stuff in the way I bought them. Um,
Exactly. Awesome. So yeah, so the game changer was definitely Minor Threat. I think that's a lot of people's game changer, rightfully so.
yeah, and I got into Youth Crew, which I mean, obviously is carried through my life. I've got a Youth of Today hat on,
Hmm.
but I mean, I still think that Minor Threat discography sort of links almost all the music I like down a thread. Like I didn't, if I discovered like Poison Idea that early, I'd probably be like, that might have been the first. Like, there's a couple bands that might have been that first band, but Minor Threat was such a easily attainable band that had such a good raw sound without adding like ska parts to it, or like it just was all the stuff you wanted right there.
Exactly. Yeah, it wasn't so fat wrecky, right?
Yeah.
Exactly.
Which I
Okay.
mean, I bought what I could get because I grew up in a smaller town than Raleigh, about
Hmm.
2 hours west of here. So I got what I could get, but I mean, sometimes you lost out. Like I think I knew that Screeching Weasel might be a band I liked, and I bought a album of theirs called Emo on CD and was like, I hate this so much. This is terrible. So sometimes you just lose in the game of guessing whether you're gonna like an album or not.
For sure, which was part of the charismatic part, I think, about just like creating record shopping at this time, because um, even if you didn't enjoy it at first, you spent your hard-earned money on that. So you just had to, you made an effort to enjoy it, even though sometimes you were like, yeah, okay, I give this 7 tries, I can't get into it.
And sometimes you miss out on stuff you know you're gonna like. Like I had a friend tell me, "You need to get Milo Goes to College. That's the album." And I'm like, "Cool." I went to the CD store and I'm like, "Cool to be you, cool to be you, cool to be you. Everything sucks." And I'm like, "They don't have it. I guess I'm not gonna like if these aren't the albums that are." I was told was the album to get. I'm not gonna get any Descendants. So I got into Descendants just a little bit later than I should have, which is unfortunate. They married a lot of good melodic stuff better than the Fat Wreck bands that I got into because their samplers were like $3 and they had like
Mm-hmm.
25 tracks on it. Like it seems like a no-brainer on some of those.
For sure, for sure. So let's fast forward a bit. Let's talk a bit about To Live a Lie. I have something pretty fun prepared. So
Okay.
I think you've been going pretty hard since 2005. Like you haven't had like a break. You know, I've been looking at all of your releases every year, and you've been pretty consistent. And what I want to say, I even now during COVID, you know, I feel like I wanted to ask you. It seems like you're still able to sell records well, like during
Yeah,
COVID. So how's that experience been during COVID?
it's
Yeah, yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
it's crazy for me. It's crazy during COVID. I guess because uh people around can't just walk into records shops. I think that's changing a little bit. Like the punk record shop here in town has appointments only where you can shop, but that still limits the fact that you could just drive out there and walk in and have however number of people perusing. So for people maybe more like me who are shy, they might order on the website, or then that opens up any website.
Exactly.
So I think that has really had my sales go uh, up like crazy
Oh,
with COVID.
that
I don't know. I don't know if I'm doing a better job. The one new thing is I took over 625's mail order, so I've got sort of my releases, and I've got 625 Thrash Core's catalog at my hands. I don't know if that's been a big plus there, but uh, COVID hasn't slowed me down. I'm generally just a mail order business. I running it out of my house and not having a storefront means I don't have people come by, and I already had everything set up to ship stuff, so it's nothing's been really different.
excellent. So it has been different because it seems like it's been going even better than usual. Oh
Yeah,
yeah.
it's been going great. I can't complain at all. I feel lucky that the DIY scene continues to support the bands that I'm putting out, and I mean that's generally why I run the label, to support the bands.
And I wanted to give you props on that scarf you released. It's so sick.
Yeah,
Has it
thank you.
been working well?
Yeah, I don't think everyone. So here in America, I don't think there's the whole hooligan like that culture. So I don't
Right.
think people are gonna want scarves until it hits very cold here, and then they're like, "Oh, some bands and labels have scarves. Maybe I should buy one of these finally." So I think the people that love the label grabbed them right away. Some of the people that might be more in tune with like uh, non-American football culture probably were really
Exactly.
excited to get it and maybe put it on their walls or just represent. And then everyone else is probably gonna uh, start to buy them in the next handful of weeks when it finally starts to get a little colder here.
Yeah, I love when labels and bands just release random pieces of merch, you know. I haven't seen Scars much, so that's really cool.
I just think it's a cool thing. Like, if you have your favorite club, you support your club by getting the scarf, and whether you wear it that much, like if I'm not a big sports person, but like I like soccer, so like I understand that, and uh,
Yeah, and it's even like a cute gift for maybe your mom or your grandmother, you know,
yeah,
so
for sure.
yeah,
I usually don't put cuss words on anything, so it's generally family friendly.
exactly. Um, yeah, and just talking about like one of my when I started a band, one of my like checklist items was because I'm a big like comic book, action figure, horror movie kind of guy. So like I always wanted to release an action figure. So we finally got around to that last year, and I see a lot of bands are doing it. So that's props. I'm all about the crazy merchandise.
Yeah, some merchandise is a little bit harder than others. Like a scarf is pretty easy because I did one 7 years ago, and you base this one company will do the design for you. I think it's more for if you have a small soccer team and you just want to have some representation for you. But I like photoshopping stuff. If people are watching this on YouTube, my Zoom background is just something that I threw together on Photoshop. Like, uh, I want to design my scarf exactly how I want it to look, and uh, luckily they can uh, accommodate that and just
Turn,
do a sample of it, send you a picture of it, and then do however many scarves you want.
yeah, man, turned out great. Turned out
I feel
great.
like an action figure is more detailed, where you have to do like casting and
Oh, for sure. I would, yeah, yeah, but it was a super fun process because a lot of our artwork just it's kind of like we organically some sort of like the equivalent to Minor Threat's Black Sheep or Iron Maiden's Eddie. Like we just got our own um little mutant going called Ralph, and at some point I was like, okay, we got to make an action figure out of this. So I had a friend living in Holland with her boyfriend. They just do sculptures all the time. So I hit him up. They had never done something this big, and I was like, what would you guys think about doing 100 of these for me? So we just worked on. I did some sketches. I showed them the artwork, and they did the mold for me. And it was a long process. It was like a year, and they did the mold, and they painted them individually, one by one. And the actually, like I'd say 50% of what was cool about that was the actual toy, but the other thing was the packaging. It was just like old school, like an old school action
yeah.
figure. So yeah, and this kind of stuff just sells great. Like people like that kind of stuff, especially myself. So yeah, that was a lot of fun. So talking about fun, Will, if you want, we're gonna play some sort of game. It's not exactly a game, but this morning I was just playing records, and I started picking out since some some uh, some to live a lie records. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna pick out some of my favorites, and I'd like for you to share a cool. You don't necessarily need to talk about how the music is great because it obviously is because you chose to release it, but maybe share a cool story or your involvement with the band or
Yeah,
how
for
how the
sure.
record came about. So here, I'm sure you have a special place in your heart for this one,
Yep.
which is, I believe, the first 7-inch you ever released, which is the Magrudergrind and Godstomper 7-inch. I believe
Yep.
this is one of the records each, one of the first records each band released.
I think Godstomper had been around before that, and I think that was in a phase where Magrudergrind had one. I assume that they had one big recording session where they did a handful of splits. Like I remember, I was trying to collect them too because, I mean, most people that run labels come from the fact that they're big fans, and like I've got my record collection to the right of me. Um, so I think they did a Sanity's Dawn split. that might have been later. Um, I can picture some of the early splits in my. They did a Warm Gun split around the same time,
Correct.
uh, and then interestingly, Mo
Sylvester
from
Stallone, I believe, as well.
yeah, they did a handful of things. They did the I think the owned 7-inch came out before that split that you held up.
Hmm.
I know they had a really old demo that's hard to listen to. That I mean, most
Very
bands are
raw.
evolutions, and you gotta respect the fact that they sounded like this when they were in high school, and then they stepped out of that same sound and they evolved themselves. Interestingly, I put out a 7-inch not that long ago for a band called Needle, who are also from DC, but they're all in high school and they sound like Magrudergrind. So I feel like
Oh
when
wow.
they're out of high school, they're gonna be like up here, and I'm excited to see how they age as musicians.
Wow. So, and how did this? Because I feel like the first releases, you always labels always have a special place in their heart for it. How did this come about? Did they approach you? Did you approach them?
Um, Let me try to trace it back. That's 15 years ago. So I started doing a distro at the end of college. I'm like, I like records. I can easily order these things for dirt cheap from Ebullition and I can sell them. Like, worst case, whatever. I give them to my friends if I can't sell them. I think that sort of put it out there that I was someone of some sort in music. Like, I wasn't in a band at the time or anything. So I think that sort of led to some people being like, "Oh, maybe you could release." Like, I think I can't remember how I got in contact with Avi,
Hmm.
but I knew I was about to do this release, and back then I want to say I talked on AOL Instant Messenger to people, and I assume Avi talked to me. I remember the conversation. I don't remember if it was in person or
Hmm.
online, but I remember him being like, "Dude, if you really want to bulk up your distro, put out a record, trade them," which honestly is what I did for a really long time. So
Hmm.
it was good
Makes sense.
advice.
Yeah.
Um, but I remember him talking me into the split.
Hmm.
And then I finally was like, okay, like I'm just out of college. I'm starting my first, I guess you could say it like big boy job. I'm finally seeing some paychecks. Like I have a little money to spare for the first time in my life. Let me
Hmm.
try it out.
For sure.
And I saw Magruder Grind up in my grandparents and brother and his family live up in DC. So I went up there and then went up to Baltimore because I was in DC. I borrowed a car and went to Baltimore and went to Charm City Art Space and saw Magruder Grind, Bailout, and Bailout is pre Coke Bust. Uh, I should remember the entire ticket, but it was a handful of really good uh, sort of
Hmm.
North Virginia, DC, Maryland bands, and seeing a band live puts a
For
makes it a little
sure.
more personal.
For sure.
So I was really excited to see them. People were pretty excited to see them play, and uh, I knew I was sold on doing the split at that point.
Excellent. Excellent. So okay, so yeah, that just sparked my interest. If your relationship was with Godstomper or Magrudergrind, or if you had a friendship first, or you saw them live. But it's interesting
It
to see how
it
it
was
sparked
sort of
up.
yeah, it was sort of a combined friendship with Magruder Grind and then the other label, Nuclear Barbecue Party. I'd started talking to him just because of the split, and uh, we doing a record and doing my first record. I'm learning a lot from him how to do the process.
Hmm.
So I
That was
talked
really
to him.
helpful.
Yeah, he did all the work. I was just the money guy on this. Um,
Gotcha.
but I learned the process, and then did the Rhino Charge record shortly after that, and
Hmm.
did that myself. And uh, honestly, the first handful of releases, it seemed like it it was similar to like the Spy tape. Like I was like, wow, like it's so easy to sell stuff. Things just sell, and I mean, it. I just got lucky with the first handful of bands I chose.
Yeah, and it definitely seemed doable. You got a decent paycheck. It just all made sense. So let's go to my my next record, which is one of my favorite split 7 inches of all time. Okay. This is the Shitstorm and Conga Fury Speed Team 7 inch.
Yeah.
Um, Shitstorm's side is just, for me, perfection. So pissed, so raw, so violent, so in your face. And it's just, I think their side is 2 minutes. And it's like 6 songs in 2 minutes. Perfect.
Yeah.
So, um, do you have any cool stories you want to share about how this came about?
Um, yeah, I got everything. Everything early on has very long backgrounds to them.
Sure.
As you go on, as as you develop as a label and people hear about you, you have bands that you've either heard of or are just now hearing of that you'll like. I'll hear a band and be like, let's put it out. This is great. I don't know who you are, but the first stuff is all intertwined to other stuff. So a really long time ago, I had an ex-girlfriend that I helped move back down to Miami, and it's sort of a bummer at the time because we were going to continue to date and etc., all that stuff, whatever. But while I was down there, I'm like, what can I do that's fun? What is there any punk stuff happening? And I found a couple punk shows, and uh, I met some friends that have been friends through music since then. Two of them are brothers, and they were tabling outside of this show, and they happened to be the two brothers in Shitstorm. Also, in they, I
And
think,
Torch, is it?
yep, the drummer and Shitstorm, Torch, and then for most of this band that I put out called Makago NT.
Oh,
Uh,
gotcha.
Makago NT is like a slowed down version of Shitstorm, but just like like it. I love Shitstorm, but I feel like Makago NT hits like my
Your
like
sweet
that.
tooth. Okay.
Yeah,
I
that's
wasn't
hits
aware.
that
So
cinnamon
who's?
roll.
Yeah, exactly. It's that cinnamon roll. So who in Shitstorm is in Mekagonti?
The drummer, so the singer is the same in both bands. The drummer is the same, except I think he leaves before they stopped being a band. So I think they had a different drummer towards the end. But the two brothers that I met in Florida back when I was probably like 19 years old in college, moving an ex down to Florida, meeting them at some random, probably screamo show because
Mm-hmm.
I found what shows I could find down there, and they weren't hardcore punk, but they were something to do.
Sure. Yeah, somewhat involved in that. That's some sort of hardcore, just a different kind of hardcore. Sure.
Yeah, but it was cool to see. So the singer is the same in both Shitstorm and Makago. The drummer is also, he's in both of those bands, and then is in Torch, and it was cool to see Torch sort of elevate throughout the years to this gigantic band.
Exactly. Well
Uh,
deserved. Gigantic band. Very cool band.
yeah. Um, so that's the brief story of my friendship with Shitstorm.
Okay.
Um, I remember that these guys are pretty busy, and I remember I had the Konga Fury side. Okay, I'm remembering pieces of it.
Okay.
So Shitstorm was like, "Hey, dude, like we're gonna try to record for a split. Who should we do a split with? And I'm like, I don't know. I really like this band that put out an LP on 6 weeks called Conga Fury. Like maybe I could like figure it out. And they're like, dude, we just checked them out. They're sick. Like, let's do it. I think Conga Fury had a website and a guest book back when I did this. And
Guest book, wow.
yeah, I
Back
think
in the day.
I think I was like, hey, I'm interested in doing a split record for your band. And their band member Yoshio wrote me back, and really nice guy. A little bit of language barrier, but I don't think I attempted to send anything Japanese because I don't even. I mean,
Right.
I don't know if Google. I'm sure I could have Google translated some stuff, but they probably could have translated what I was saying back anyway. So they sent me their stuff very quickly. They recorded, wrote it. They sent me. I want to say that back then bands would sometimes send you the actual original artwork for center labels and etc. But they sent me the original artwork for the center label, the artwork for the outside. I scanned it all up, and then I want to say like 2 years or a year and a half later, Shitstorm finally had their stuff together, and then the artwork took a little more time, and then finally put that record out. So that's the weird long story behind
But
that.
that's such a cool story because you were the one that got both bands together. You scanned the actual artwork, so you're super heavily involved in the 7-inch. Super
Yeah,
cool.
it's pretty cool feeling to sort of slap two bands together that like it's nice to be sort of the creator of something.
Exactly. Yeah, you're the matchmaker, you know?
Yeah, I know
For sure.
Magrudergrind and Godstomper had played a battle set back when Magrudergrind was on tour and went through California. So they had made the connection together there.
Uh-huh.
But yeah, I made the
Gotcha.
connection on this one. I can't say I've done a ton of connections between bands.
But
I
you
know
did on this one, so
yeah.
this one's insane. As I said, one of my favorite 7-inches ever, and I have a lot of 7-inches. So props for that.
Yeah, it's cool to have two totally different sounding bands on a split. I think that's
For
the
sure.
best of both worlds, because sometimes you want some noise punk and you're gonna listen to Conga Fury. Sometimes you just want that well recorded, super pissed off grindcore and you listen to that side.
Exactly. Exactly. So let's go on with 7-inch number 3. This is DOC's first 7-inch, um, which is one of one of my favorite bands Chris Moore has ever been in. I'm not even sure if they're still around. I don't know. Any any cool stories you'd like to share about this 7-inch?
Well, the Magruder Grind split put me in contact with basically Chris Moore and Avi, the guitar player at that split's time.
Mm-hmm.
Sort of was like, he was a nice enough guy from what I gathered, but he was sort of a standoffish, quiet metalhead dude. So me being shy and quiet, I meet the more networking people, and Avi is he seems like a guy who could run a business pretty well. Like he's got a business sense, and then Chris was the DIY guy, like booking shows,
Cool.
playing in way too many bands, playing drums crazy.
That kind of
So
guy, yeah.
yeah, so DOC is three great guys out of DC. Their guitar player, I'm trying to remember who plays what. Uh, the guitar player Tim was like a really young kid at the time,
Mm-hmm.
uh, and I don't know if this was his first band, but they're like, yeah, like it's me. Like I think Chris was like, yeah, it's me and Nolan and this young kid Tim, and like we're excited about this. I'm like, I'm excited for you. And they're like, do you wanna co-release the demo as a 7-inch? I'm like, why not? This sounds great. Like the recordings are great. I like everyone in the band. Like, I don't know Tim yet, but I got to know Tim, and he's super cool. So yeah, these are some good examples of people that I know personally in bands and have stories of, like, Tim was on tour either with this band or he's also in Genocide Pact.
Yes.
One of those bands was on tour, and I went to a town, a couple towns over to see them play, and then we got pizza. So here's tying in pizza and food. He had just turned 21, I think, that day, so he got wine, like, I guess legitimately for the first time, and he got a little sauced up, and he was sitting there sort of, I don't think I'm exaggerating it, he was like holding his wine, and he's like, he was trying to describe the wine as if he was a sommelier, and he was like, I taste nodes of grape. He wasn't saying notes, he was saying nodes.
Nodes.
Yeah, I can't get that out of my head. Anytime I think of Tim, I think how he's such a nice, like, young, quiet guy, and that I saw him drunk legally for the first time talking about nodes of grape.
Is that a consistent inside joke with him now?
I haven't kept up with him as well as I should have. I think that will resound with a lot of music people, just because the ages we all hit, like, some
Life
people started
responsibility.
families.
Yeah. It's
People doing their grinds and stuff. People building up their bands to where they're working with bigger labels, so they might be dealing more with other people for music type stuff.
Yeah.
So I just haven't talked to Tim that
natural
much,
process. Yeah, for sure.
but I'm sure if I saw him, I would possibly work it into the conversation.
Excellent. So, I mean, should I go to my next record, or you wanna anything else you want to share about your involvement with DOC?
Yeah, since you probably never seen him live unless you looked up YouTube videos.
Exactly.
In that band, so Nolan, I want to say he plays bass. I don't know. I can't remember which Tim or Nolan plays, but Nolan's a great guy, really nice guy. I'm trying to think. He's also in Genocide Pact, but he's like, maybe he's not the most towering person you've ever seen, but he's like 6'3", maybe. Like, he's a decent amount taller than me. But in DOC, he would have this. He would. I guess it's good I have a mic right here, so I can demonstrate it for people looking at the YouTube version. He would set his mic really low, so you can see how tall I am versus this. Half the time, the sound guy would try to ratchet it up, but he would do this power stance all the way down low, and this just looks like I'm sitting, but in reality, my knee's like this angle right now. And he would play an entire, like, 10 to 15 minute grindcore set in this really obscurely low stance while singing at the same time. It was a very impressive feat, and I would suggest looking up videos of them live, just because I thought it was a cool.
Yeah, thanks for thanks for clarifying that, because I just thought that was his thing. I didn't know there was a reason behind him doing that. So
I don't think there's a specific. Really, I think that was just a him and DOC thing. Like, he doesn't do the stance in Genocide Pact, and I want to say, in regards to us all aging, I think he stopped doing it in DOC at some point. I think his knees probably, as a tall person, I'm sure your knees wear out a little bit faster, possibly. So I think he stopped doing it for his body's sake.
Exactly. He's getting that dad back at that point right now. Okay, so my next 7-inch, which is curious, I've been seeing, it seemed like a lot of your early releases were 7 inches, more than like 12 inches. Was that just a coincidence?
I just think, I think my goal was, like, the fastest, shortest songs are best. Like, I'm out of college. I'm in my 20s, like everything needs to be blast beats, 20-second songs, 30 songs on a 7-inch, like DRI rules everything around me kind of thing. Um,
Gotcha. So it wasn't a coincidence. It was yeah.
well, some of these bands can't write LPs, not being offensive, but I mean, like, I'm trying to think, does Shitstorm have an LP at all? I think they have a
I don't think
collection
so.
LP, maybe.
Not even. I think they don't.
Because
But
the 2 minutes of music you mentioned being perfect, like putting in maybe a two-minute songs plus like 25 other songs is a lot to listen to. Like you
exactly.
another band I got into early on was Dillinger Escape Plan,
Hmm.
and I got that first EP and listened to it over and over, and it like I think that was sort of like my precursor to
Yeah.
grindcore.
Under the Running Board.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then
Excellent. I think it's yeah. I
I
think
got
it's yeah. I think it's 3 songs on that 7-inch.
something like that. I know I listened to it over and over,
Hmm.
and then Calculating Infinity came out. I'm like, this is just too much. Like it's just like it sort of just like the three songs that were perfect and short, and you couldn't get enough of. When you add that many more, it just sort of you're like, I can listen to about half of this. Like, I mean, I think at the time I thought both were amazing, but
Hmm.
I think some bands don't expand as well to a full length.
Yeah, that you're right. It's more small doses work better with this kind of music. Definitely, I think so.
So I like to do what I felt like was almost a full length for fast bands, which is a 7-inch, putting as many songs as you can put on a 7-inch as you can. None of these like singles,
Hmm.
like a one song one side, one song one side. Let's try to put it on 33 RPM and put at least 8 songs on a side, and that's amazing. Like that fits my ADHD perfectly, and uh, you listen to it and you just want so much more out of it, but that's what it is.
Exactly. And this is a perfect segue to my next 7-inch, which is Sex Prisoners for self-titled, which I think works best on 7-inch. It feels like an LP, what the equivalent for an LP for any other band, but just the with this music, it's 10 songs, I believe, and it feels like a full length, even though it's I don't remember how long, how the running time. So and I think this was like a before and after for a lot of bands in the power violence scene. I think Sex Prisoners started incorporating more of that before. You were saying that stompy kind of stuff, but they brought this kind of like, in my opinion, first time I heard it, this sort of strife, hate breed, Earth Crisis kind of riffage. I don't know what you think. Yeah, please just share your story with Sex Prisoner.
Um, so growing up a skater and a punk, I very much identify with a certain kind of DIY person. I think there is another type of person that's into hardcore and they've only really listened to hardcore, and they like I don't want to like name any bands and trash them, but they're sort of modern. Like to me, modern hardcore people are sort of different than me and my punk friends who want to go and see bands in basements, where they want to go and dogpile off stage and mosh really hard and
Hmm.
etc. So I I like bands that bring the hardcore energy into music, but they they're more from a punk sounding side. They're the two brothers in the band are really nice people. I really appreciate them. They've looked out for me. Uh, as people, they're nice people. They don't totally feel like punks.
Hmm.
I'm not trying to like trash talk them. They're like dudes that love sports and they love the things they love and they write really good music.
Hmm.
Um, the drummer is a punk. Like I feel like it's like a nice mixture of the two brothers that are the hardcore dudes that they might have found other band members that were hardcore dudes and had a full like hardcore band,
Mm-hmm.
but they incorporated other people in their band that brought that punk edge to it, and I just think they pulled it off really well. As soon as I heard their demo, I felt like I really needed to work with them. They had sent me their older band's demo. Is a band called Female Snake. I remember. I don't know how I pieced it together. I feel like really recognized the band members' names that sent. Like I was like, oh, here's another Kyle Kennedy from blankety blank Arizona.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, here's the name again. I sort of like put them together. But Female Snake, I think I back in the day, like you get a CDR and I'd actually write mail back and say, hey, I appreciate it. I can't work with y'all. I don't think Female Snake was quite on the level, but
Mm-hmm.
I think my friend Pat put out the Sex Prisoner demo, and I was like, this, they figured out their sound. Like, I need to work with this band. So I wrote them. They were excited. We did the EP. I've done some stuff with them since. Actually, the T-shirt I'm wearing, I don't know if you recognize this band, but
I do. I
it's
do.
it's Kyle from Sex Prisoners Industrial Project. Kevin, his brother, also contributes vocals to it.
And they just released their LP on Relapse, right? Which was a delightful surprise. I would have never expected that combination, but very cool.
Yeah, and honestly, I feel like Relapse could have picked up Sex Prisoner or
Mm-hmm.
some of these other bands that I've worked with, but I feel like a lot of these bands like to work with smaller labels, but I feel like the Realize sound fits Relapse, and I feel like a lot of people heard about them pretty quickly through that
Exactly.
connection.
Yeah. Yeah. I feel Relapse delves a bit more in that like industrial kind of area, Godfleshy kind of bands for sure. I feel like
Yeah.
yeah, Realize is a more of a better fit than Sex Prisoner might be for Relapse. So excellent. Okay, ready for our next 7 inch?
Yeah, I can't believe you have this many to pull out here. So
Yeah,
I'm
and
excited to see what they are.
it's not always the easiest task to get all the way here in Spain, but you know, between just going to a lot of shows, touring, mail order, I was able to get I was able to gather. These are just my favorites. I have a lot more.
Oh wow.
So yeah, um, I think these two 7 inches, the first two ACXDC Antichrist Demon Core 7 inches. I feel like were important, right? To
Yeah.
both ACXDC and to Live a Lie, and any stories you'd like to share about releasing this?
So he had it coming came out on I want to say a label called Go Records back in um I think when I was first running my label, I traded that label and had heard the 7 inch, and they had some amount of hype around them at that time. And then they broke up as a band, and I had established a connection with Sergio from the band at that point, and he continued to play different music. He played in a band that I think he specifically sang in Spanish. So I don't know if you have heard his band Liberate.
Oh yeah, yeah, very much
Um,
dig it.
so he did that, and then I think he finally refilled out ACXDC, where they changed members a little bit
Mhm.
and filled out the band a little bit, and they're like, hey, we're gonna do a new 7 inch, would you be interested? I'm like yeah, like I really liked your old, like your first EP, I'd love to see what you're doing. So I put out, I can't remember if the the first EP if I put that out later, but I feel like I put out a pressing of Second Coming and it did well. So
Correct.
then I was like,
Sorry, I don't want to interrupt, but yeah, there was an earlier release of He Had It Coming, and I think you re-released it a couple years later, from what I saw.
yeah, I was just trying to remember if I did the Second Coming record
Mm.
before the repress of He Had It Coming. Doesn't really
Okay.
matter that much, but
Yeah.
I think Second Coming did well. I got asked to re-release the He Had It Coming. Did sort of some uh, let that steam continue, like the Sex Prisoner record, just kept repressing as needed. I had an idea for we needed to repress both of the EPs, and I was like, "Hey, Sergio, what do you think about a gatefold version where we press both the records on the same color vinyl, toss them in like a gatefold sleeve, and it's just sort of like a quick collection?"
Yeah.
And he's like, "Yeah, it's a great idea." And did like 500 or 1,000 of those. Those sold through. Uh, and then finally did a collection LP and then repressed that. It just sort of kept repressing. Like it was
Hmm.
a solid release, solid 2 releases. That with the Sex Prisoner record were some of the things that I just kept trying to keep in stock, because if you have enough momentum and people, like if you sell stuff up to the very last one where
Hmm.
it's not like a couple months went by and no one's bought it kind of thing, if you think
Right.
you can sell another stack of them, you keep repressing it. It's a good record. Get it to everyone who wants it. I've never wanted to really be a label that keeps everything super exclusive. I know I do some small runs of things, but usually it's stuff that I think is going to be have a smaller audience, and I just want to make sure I get it out there and uh, etc. But yeah, that those 2 records keeps selling. Like I'm sure if I repressed them today, I'd keep selling them.
Exactly.
Uh,
Yeah. And
that and uh, the three-way
uh,
record with ACXDC. Hopefully that's not on your stack, but
oh yeah, oh yeah, of course, of course. I was because I think this is uh go ahead. Sorry, I don't want to interrupt.
I
You
was
were
gonna
saying.
say that those handful of records are the ones that just sell over and over, and uh, that one that you've got right there. I think this was another one that was my creation. I was like, I think maybe we had a possible split lined up, and I'm like, hey, like hear me out. Maybe we can do like a one-sided 10-inch. It doesn't really make a lot of sense, but like maybe it would be cool. And I haven't really retried this same formula with any other bands, but this record just it continually sells no matter what. It's a great record. I wish Magnum Force gave more material. It's sort of, I want to say, 2 short songs.
Hmm.
Um,
I
I don't
feel
think,
this is sorry to interrupt, but I feel like this is one of your most I feel it's one of your most important records. I think it might be some of the best tracks of each band, in my opinion. And just the format, as you said, everything on side A, the sick ass etching on side
yeah,
B, and it must feel great that you came up with this idea and molded it all together.
yeah. So the first pressing of it had sort of a crappier, like fold, like one of those budget sort of fold over like covers. And
I think
oh,
this is the one I
you got
have.
original
Yeah.
pressing. Okay.
Okay. Yeah.
Um, I don't know if that came with a poster or not, or if that's just a little lyric sheet, but uh,
I think it's just the lyric sheet. I don't
okay.
think it has a. It might have a poster. I.
So after the first pressing did really well, I sort of reconfigured the pressing of it and put it in a 10-inch actual spine sleeve, and then instead of that fold over lyric sheet, I put each one of the uh, 4 panels onto the back of a poster, and the front of the poster is the 7-inch or the 10-inch cover. So
Wow, I might need to pick that up. I wasn't aware there was that pressing. Do you know who put together the artwork? Because it's really cool.
that's the one thing I didn't have anything to do with. I think Sergio found someone to do art, and it just hit really well. Well, like it's creepy, it's scary, it makes you feel uneasy. Um, I really like the weird, uh, non-geometric, pseudo-geometric slices.
Yeah, it felt
Like,
like I feel like after this came out, I saw like bands copy this a little bit. Not in a bad way, just they were influenced by how sick it looked. Um,
yeah, I wish I knew. I think it's a woman who did it. I wish I knew her
mhm.
name, but shout out to the person who did that artwork. It's
Exactly,
it made the record iconic for what it is.
for sure.
I I did some pieces of it, like I suggested the HB side, and Sergio came up
Ah,
with the what is it, like levels of hell.
exactly, yeah.
And I actually have in my room that direction. Not that it matters.
Hmm.
I've got the mother plates for it, and it looks pretty cool. I
I
probably
think
should hang it up. I should
y-
hang it up on my wall or something like that.
yeah, I think you posted a picture recently.
Yeah, I had an
Um,
old photo of it, and I reposted it.
Excellent. So for those who are listening and not watching, we're talking about the ACXDC Sex Prisoner Magnum Force split. I don't know if we set that straight. So next, um, I feel like this 7 inch is a bit underrated, but I really enjoy this. This is Chest Pain's self-titled 7 inch from they're from Texas, I believe.
Texas, yeah.
Okay. And from what I gather, I don't know if they exist anymore, but they haven't released much. How
Yeah, I
did
don't.
your relationship with them come about?
All right. So they played in Raleigh a really long time ago. Maybe up to 10 years ago or so. Uh and I think I didn't know about the show, or I don't know. I can't go to every show. Like, I'm antisocial. Like,
Yeah,
I pick and choose uh
exactly.
the shows I go to, and I know my girlfriend is outgoing and would like to go to every show, and I'm sort of the limiter. But
Sometimes you just
this
gotta
was
stay
before we
home.
dated, so I could skip any
Okay.
show I wanted to.
Yeah. Sometimes you just gotta stay home and eat a cinnamon roll.
Yep. Uh, I'm also not a partier. I don't drink, so like I don't need the show to be the substitute for going to a bar and drinking with my friends, because
Hmm.
I just go and awkwardly hang out, and I do like to socialize, but if as I get older, I feel like I don't have as much FOMO. Like, I know it's comfortable to sit around the house sometimes and do whatever I do at the house. And uh, I don't know the reason I missed their show, but I heard later that they were asking if I was there and if I was going to show up, and etc. And I'm like, oh, that's weird. Like, I know I run a label, but to me, I'm just some guy who lives in this town. Um, and so they came back some year or two later, and I made a point to see them. I'm like, yo, if they are asking about me, they seem like they're a cool band now that I finally checked them out. Um, I think either at that show or later, I talked to their bass player Matt. Uh, I did take photos of that show. I guess to scroll back a little bit, there was one year I finally bought a camera. I tried to buy a video camera, and I bought a crappy one off eBay. I tried to film some bands, and it didn't record right, because I guess loud music and the way it wrote to it, it just got all messed up with the sound and etc. So I'm like, okay, I guess because I can afford an entry level
Hmm.
DSLR, I'm gonna start to take band photos. So I took photos of that show. Um, and to fast forward to any conversation we might have about that, I finally bought a camera that does photos and video, and
Cool.
I tried to take punk photos in the way that you saw the action, but then videography is like pretty basic. You just sort of look at things, and it's not as much artistic, but it really lets someone in Spain see what
Exactly.
a show in North Carolina was like at that time.
Exactly.
But anyway, uh, they seem like nice guys. They had put out that record on their own label. I think they sent me the plates for it. So it actually, if you look at the matrix, it's not a TLAL number, it's something else on the matrix.
Huh.
So I basically re-released their very limited pressed uh 7-inch that they may have only done like
There you go.
100 to 300 copies.
Okay.
So I think it should say something else on the matrix.
Okay. Yeah, I can't really see right now because it's super dark here, but I feel like, yeah. Awesome.
If not, you just have to believe me.
Yeah, I believe you. Okay, so let's go on to my next 7-inch. Another one which I think is underrated, which I'm not sure how to pronounce.
Curmudgeon.
Curmudgeon. Okay.
Yeah.
Thank God you said it because I was about to say Kermageddon. So
uh
Curmudgeon. Okay. How did
yeah.
this come about?
So I to get back to talking to friends. So I this band I put out a split for called Hip Cops from
Mm-hmm.
Connecticut.
Yeah.
He and I had been, his name is also Will, so we'd sometimes be called the Wills. We sort of just had this grindcore long distance, like pretty good friendship for a while now. Like I said, I haven't really talked to him as much lately. I think he's been doing a lot of like farming and stuff in his
Cool.
free time up in Connecticut, um, and living with his wife. But when he was more into like veganism and grindcore, we talked most every day. Um, I don't know if I'd seen Curmudgeon before or after, or if he suggested to do the split.
Mm-hmm.
But I, like most of my early releases, I became friends with all the band members. I uh, I was friends with him. We co-released it. Uh, they played in Raleigh a handful of times. Hung out with them. I've pseudo kept up with them. Uh, I know. I sort of didn't give you any specifics on that,
No,
but uh,
it just kind of blossomed out of a friendship, pretty much. Yeah.
yeah, they were a good band live. They continued to do pretty great bands after that band. I think I think some people like to be musicians, and sometimes they move to different towns and they form very similar bands. So
Mm-hmm.
there's been a handful of different permutations of bands that feel like Curmudgeon from different band members. Uh, but yeah, it's a friendship, pretty
Cool.
much.
Very
A good
cool.
record too.
Yeah, definitely. Um, so my next 7-inch is one of my favorites, which I don't know if this gets a lot of praise, but it gets a lot of praise for me, I think for obvious reasons. This is the Nashgul and Malpractice Insurance split 7-inch. Nashgul being from Spain and Malpractice Insurance. Where are they from?
Oh, I want to say they're an LA band, but
Oh, okay.
I'm trying not to. So I've got really bad ADD, and if I
Okay.
start to pull up a browser right now, you're gonna see me like start to space out and start. So I'm trying not to touch the internet at all
Okay.
during this,
Sounds good.
but I believe they're an LA band.
Okay.
If I didn't say that completely wrong.
I don't. I have no idea, but I for some reason I thought they were South American. But okay,
Uh,
sure. Anyway.
I think they're people of color. I think they might be uh
Okay.
Hispanic men, but I think
Okay.
they live in LA.
Okay. Gotcha. Well.
And Nashville, they actually played Maryland Death Fest,
Hmm.
and I met them in I think I didn't go to Death Fest that year, so I'm not a big metal guy, which I know that seems weird because half of these bands are adjacent to metal.
Hmm.
I didn't grow up listening to like Obituary or uh, I can't even name like
Yeah.
two metal bands
Suffocation.
off the
Those
top
kind
of
of
my
bands.
head.
Yeah.
Yeah, like I've respect for the bands that sound more grind, and I've sort of fallen into them
Hmm.
backwards. Like I've listened to all the small bands to then find them the opposite way. But there's a big metal fest up in Maryland, which is about like a 5 or 6 hour drive. It was fun most years because they would have big the bigger bands playing the bigger venues, and then they would split the smaller bands off, which were the grind bands. So I would go to those shows generally, and I'll try not to say this too loud, but sometimes I would scavenge a wristband off the ground
Ooh,
uh,
sneaky.
to yeah, I don't mean to sound like a cheap person, but a lot of my money goes to the label, and I own my house. I have to pay the mortgage and
Of
stuff.
course.
So
I think you
uh,
give a lot to the community. It's okay for you to get the occasional wristband. All good.
yeah. Um, so well, plus I'm not a big metalhead. Like I think one year I just really wanted to see My Dying Bride, but I didn't want to pay to see. Like I was like, I'm just gonna stand outside the gates and listen to them. But I managed to get into the other show
Yeah.
without a problem, and I was pretty happy about that. Saw Candlemass too, which is
Sick.
pretty cool.
Very cool.
But this year I didn't go to Death Fest, but they were playing a couple shows around Death Fest, and they're super nice people. I don't know if they're from the part of Spain you're in or if you've met them.
Oh yeah, they're very good friends of mine, and my band and I are my band and their band. We're really good friends. We've
Awesome.
played together. We even have a split in the works. They're from the north of Spain, A Coruña.
Okay.
We're from Madrid, which is in the middle. And
Cool.
yeah, they come here. They sleep here. They sleep over all the time when they're on tour. And great guys. And I think this is some of their best material. I always tell them that I always tell them this is their best material. Super fan.
Yeah. One thing you probably already know, but most people in America don't know any good information about places outside of America unless they've traveled there. So I I apologize to not know where they are versus where you are.
It's all good. It's all good. Like it's all good.
We're so self-focused in America. Like we know other stuff happens other places, but everything's in English and we don't know geography of anywhere else.
It's all good. It's all good. And yeah, I don't want to tell you you're right. I lived in New York for several years, but I feel like New York's totally different. But I got both vibes. You know, a lot of people knew what was up, and a lot of people didn't. So that's how your relationship blossomed with Nashville.
Yeah, I met
Through
him. I can't I can't remember it's before or after, but it's nice to associate names with faces and get like a vibe from people. And I want to say Hector was the main person I talked to. The guy who does the crazy awesome artwork, I feel
yeah,
like spoke less. I
Luis.
don't want
Yeah,
to say the
they're
wrong
Luis.
name. Luis, okay.
Yeah. Like me,
Uh,
Luis. Yeah.
is there a Nani in that band, or am I thinking of a different band?
Santi. I think you're thinking
Santi,
Santi,
okay.
which is the singer. I think he has the best English, so maybe you spoke a bit more to him.
Maybe I did. I want to say Luis spoke the least, but
Yeah.
smiled a lot. So I assume there was some language barrier, and I know a little bit of Spanish, but I feel
Can you share just a little bit of Spanish? I could teach you how to say, I would teach you how to say cinnamon roll, but there's not a translation for cinnamon
oh
roll.
no.
Maybe postre is dessert. How about that?
Okay.
Postre.
How do you say cinnamon? Postre de cinnamon?
Postre de cinnamon. Exactly. There you go.
I speak Spanish. So we, in Spanish classes, they try to get you to speak. I don't mean to sound ignorant here to begin
No
with.
worries.
They try to teach you to speak with the accent, and I always felt like it's weird because I speak like this, and I'm not trying to sound like an ignorant American, but it feels weird to like change the tone of your voice, which you're supposed to, I believe, to have people understand you better. So I speak Spanish as I speak English, which is a little slower, and I don't sort of like roll my R's a little bit, and etc. So my Spanish is there. I can communicate. So
Okay.
like saying un poco, that's how I say it, like from English. But like I know you're supposed to be like un poco, like have a little bit of a like a
Gotcha. Yeah. That totally makes sense. I've tried learning other languages, and I feel I have that difficulty as well. But un poco sounded good. All right. Well, what
yeah.
about
I mean, well, what about what?
no? Can you try saying postre de cinnamon again?
Postre de cinnamon.
There you go. Sounds perfect. Fuck yeah, dude.
Yeah, I usually only pull out my Spanish to, I don't know. I know in the past I used to like try to challenge myself and like find people that were Spanish speakers and go on like AIM chat and try to have whole conversations, but I know I haven't challenged myself that much. I could probably get some ideas across, and I think I know it better from a written standpoint. Like my brain doesn't process it quite fast enough because I'm not a very social person.
Gotcha.
So I think I could write you a little essay in Spanish and get my words across better, or I might have to sit here and be like, okay, how do I explain that I like grindcore music without knowing grindcore or some of these words?
Hey, dude, that makes sense. That's I think you put a lot more effort in it than a lot of people I know. So props for that.
Well, the
You
other
know,
problem is I learned Spanish well enough in high school that I placed out of it going into college. So I didn't, there was no big reason for me to continue speaking Spanish as I've not ever traveled. I've been to Mexico for like a day, but I've not really spent time in a native Spanish speaking country.
okay, how about this? Next time I hit you up, I'm gonna hit you up in Spanish. You can try to answer me in Spanish, all right?
I'll try not to Google translate any
okay.
words.
No cheating. No cheating. Exactly. So, well, later after you did that split with Nashville, you did this, which I think is a great record, and the artwork is fabulous.
Is that my actual pressing or the
No,
European?
I don't have your pressing. I cheated. But
That's
I want to
fine.
get your pressing because it's the actual gatefold.
Yeah,
And,
I mean, I knew that would be easier and cheaper for you to find anyway. But yeah, that's the gatefold looks great, and Luis's artwork's always ridiculous. Obviously,
yeah, and
has he done any of your band's artwork?
no, but we are, since we're doing this split, we'll be releasing this in 2021. We were just talking about, since I always do the artwork for Teething and he always does the artwork for Nashville, we were like, we had this
Collaborate.
yeah. So we're working on something together. So I always do collage. So the idea is, we talked about what we should do for the artwork, which is I'm gonna do the initial collage, and then he's gonna draw on top of my collage. So it's gonna be a melding of both worlds. I think it's gonna be fun.
Yeah, it sounds interesting.
Yeah. So we're getting into more international territory for you, as I see.
Yep.
The
That's a
Kill,
great one.
the
Yeah.
Kill from Australia, which the first time I heard this was so refreshing because not only is the music insane, but I love the vocals on this record. So how did your relationship with the Kill come about? Sorry, did I say they were from Australia?
They are Australian. I
Okay,
don't know if
there
you
we go.
said it or not. I was trying to think about whether that is a different cover of the LP I put out or if that's a different LP.
Yeah, I cheated. This is the European pressing.
Cool. Yeah, like I knew that there was a different cover, but I think they had two LPs. So I was trying to tabulate in my brain if that was the same LP. But so I feel like there was a couple. I don't mean to like talk down any other grind band because there's plenty of great bands out there and there's some close to perfect bands like Nash Goal is close to perfect. Looking for an Answer,
Ah, for sure.
pretty close to perfect. But I feel like the band PLF from Texas is like a perfect grind band, and I feel like The Kill is a perfect grind band.
I think I can agree with you on everything you're saying.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not trying to disrespect any bands, but I just for some reason I feel like I've never heard any The Kill or PLF that I can't fully stand behind.
For sure.
The Kill I think also played Maryland Death Fest one year, and I want to say it was like a year apart, and it was a very similar feeling to meeting Luis and Hector and Santi.
Mm-hmm.
That I want to say it was the exact same small venue in Richmond, Virginia, that I went up to and saw him play, and Robbie from The Kill was I think he was so like I think I've described that I don't really subscribe to bar culture, but
Mm-hmm.
he grabbed me by the arm and was like, "Man, that's awesome! Like you're the nicest guy for putting out our LP. Like let me buy you a beer." And I'm like, "I don't drink." He's like, "I got you." And he came back with a Red Bull and
Ooh.
like I know that's like just like a small token, but like he went out of his way to think about something uh to get me something, and he's super nice. He got a little wavy on the sauce and was like sort of like this on me, which I'm sober and awkward and caffeinated from Red Bull, so I like he was a very endearing guy, and
I
they
totally get what you're saying because that's a really nice. Yeah, the devil is in the details. Just hooking you up with a Red Bull instead of
yeah.
reacting like, "What? You don't drink? Come on," you know.
Well, I think it's also a European thing to want to like, hey, you've done something for me, let me give. And I think
Oh
I'm
yeah.
just used to uh maybe more American culture where like, yeah, like if you're at a party, someone might have like a pack of beers and give you one, but no one's really going out of their way to make you feel happy and comfortable and stuff. I just thought it was super nice. It stuck with me for a while that I remember it this many years later. But
Nice.
very similar to seeing Nash Goal at this small venue that's no longer in Richmond. It used to be called the Nancy Raygun. It was last called Strange Matter. I think it was Strange Matter at this point. There is some video, and I definitely took photos at that show. But I just think they're like a perfect grind band. I happened to see them. They were super nice. Kept in touch with Robbie every once in a while, and I have nothing bad to say about them. I know people in the genres I deal with talk about extortion a lot, but
Mhm.
anytime someone talks about Australian bands, I'm gonna bring up The Kill and say like
Oh yeah.
they're my favorite band from Australia that I know about now, unless some other band comes out that I hadn't heard yet. But I think they're a great band.
Have you heard Meth Leopard? Yeah.
I have. I got their LP in stock just because I saw some hype around it and I wanted
Mhm.
to distro it. And I sat down. I don't always sit down and listen to as much stuff as I should, but I
Mhm.
listened to them and I was like, okay, I understand the hype. This is really good.
Yeah. For sure. All right, so let's continue with international territory. Half is international, the half is not. This is the Deadbeat and Bulk 7-inch.
Yeah.
Bulk being from the UK. And where's Deadbeat from?
They're an LA band.
Uh-huh. I feel like Deadbeat, I don't know what's up with them, but they were like growing and growing, but they kind of fell off the map for a bit.
Yeah, I don't know all the ins and outs.
Mhm.
I know their members started to get sort of sniped by some of these bigger bands. Like I think Andrew plays in Despise You,
That's
and
right.
Nick was shortly after that in this band called Fireburn that had the guy from Nails, one of the original Bad Brains singers, and was a really cool band.
For sure. Yeah, they put out a really cool LP on Closed Casket, I believe. Really cool.
Yeah, and I don't know a bunch about them falling apart, but I had big hopes for them, so I was
Mhm.
excited to see what they were gonna do because I I just love that sound, and I would have liked an LP out of them.
Yeah.
I think while some of these bands we're talking about are perfect 7-inch bands, I think they'd be a perfect LP band.
Yeah. Actually, that fits right. So your relationship started with Deadbeat, or were you aware of Bulk as well?
Uh, I wish I like some records. So me being just one person, I end up talking to maybe one person in each band usually.
Hmm.
Um, I think this one I mainly talked to Deadbeat. I probably talked to Boke a little bit, but haven't really maintained much of a connection. So Nick from Deadbeat masters and cuts a lot of lays or
Hmm.
cuts the lacquers for a lot of releases I do. So
Cool.
I maintain a professional friendship with him. Um, I'm trying to think. I talk to Andrew sometimes. I met him up in DC, I think when Despise You played, and he's a super nice guy, and he continues to be in really good bands. He is in a band called Beyond Pain that I did a tape for, and then they did an LP that's really good, and they're definitely a band to keep on your radar.
Cool. Yeah.
Um,
Beyond Pain. I wasn't aware. I keep on writing down some of these bands I wasn't aware of, like Female Snake, Beyond Pain, yada yada yada. Okay.
yeah,
Very cool.
uh,
What? Sorry. Go ahead.
I was gonna say like uh, they're not as ignorant sounding as Sex Prisoner, like that ignorant hardcore sound, but
Hmm.
it's 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 probably similar to like my love for Makago NT. It's like pissed off, angry, very intense, but then has that hardcore element to it. Like it's uh
Yeah.
quality stuff.
For sure. For sure.
And I wish I heard more out of Deadbeat, but I think they did the split that I did and maybe one or two other things.
Yeah, I think
Not
a demo or two. I'm not. I'm not sure. Um. Okay, so moving along, we have like three more. I hope I'm not taking away too much of your time. All good?
like I said, I did all my work during the week. I got nothing to do today. I'm just uh,
Excellent.
it's a nice sunny day though. You're keeping me away from this nice sun.
Just we're almost there. We have I think three or four more. Okay, so
Cool.
we mentioned this band before, but I just really like this collection. Um, the Magnum Force, the collection of all of their material,
Yeah.
and um, I think this is a great collection. The band is not active anymore, correct?
Nope.
And so how did this blossom, this relationship or this release?
I think I talked mainly to Danny, the singer of the band. At least through the 7-inch I did. Um, the LP, I want to say this sounds weird, but it makes sense that I don't always talk to all the members of the bands, and I can't remember who I talked to for this LP, but it was a different member of the band, and I want to say Magnum Force's internet presence and lyric sheet and stuff is very sparse. So I think at first I just took it for his word that he was in the band. I'm like, I guess he was in this band. But we figured out doing a co-release. I don't know if that has another label name on the back of it or if it's To Live a Lie, and I sort of released it with the band.
To Live a Lie with Push Wait Records.
Okay, I think that's probably the
Okay.
I think that's probably the other band members label. But yeah, I think the topic of doing a collection LP came up, and I'm like, I don't see why not. I mean, I don't like, sometimes I don't have a lot of money at the time, and I think I was like, maybe we could co-release it, and that's how that came about. But
Excellent. So when this came about, the band had already broken up. I'm imagining. Okay.
yeah, interesting story that sort of it, I guess is just a thing of interest is the guitar player that played on most of their stuff. They're a band from Arizona. He ended up moving to DC for whatever reason, and the original guitar player from Coke Bust left the band, and he became the, at the time, guitar player for Coke Bust and is the current guitar player from Coke Bust. And in the last handful of years, he's sort of a computer nerdy type of guy, and I talk to him maybe a couple times a month. He's a nice guy.
Awesome. I wasn't aware of this connection.
Yeah, it's a strange connection. I never talked to him while he was in Magnum Force, and we never talk about, like, I didn't work out this LP in relation to him. He just was in Magnum Force, and now he's a friend, but he's a friend who plays in Coke Bust and was in Magnum Force. So it's, our friendship is outside of the fact that he was in Magnum Force, but I think he respected the fact that I had done their EP, and he was probably excited at the time to play on a record, because it's pretty awesome when you hear that someone is putting out your record.
Yeah, for sure. So this is a perfect segue for my next 7-inch, which is
Despise You split.
Exactly. There you go. Good guess. And I have the To Live a Lie release, because there was a European press. Was this Bones Brigade, I believe?
That sounds right. Yeah.
Or
Nico.
RSR, I'm not sure. Yeah, Nico. There you go. Excellent split. I'm actually surprised. Is this your first time working with Despise You and Coke Bust? Okay.
So to give you, it seems like you like the background to things. So to give you too much background, I originally was going to do which band was it? I was either going to do a Coke Bust Juice Time split or a Bailout Juice Time split.
Okay.
I didn't really know much of who Juice Time was, but I later found out that is Nolan from DOC that does that power stance. Was in Juice Time. I think it makes more sense that it was Bailout and Juice Time, but for some reason I feel like I had some Coke Bust record lined up that never happened. So I feel lucky that I got to work with both bands, especially, I mean, Despise You is a 90s power violence band from the West Coast. That's a rarity to deal with, and
For sure.
an exciting thing to do. And Coke Bust is old friends, so it was cool to work on that. So yeah, that has James on it that plays on most of that Magnum Force LP as well.
How many times have you pressed this 7-inch?
I didn't realize it, but I guess this week I put in a repress of 500, so I think it's been sold out for a couple years, so
Mm-hmm.
it's about to go on to a either third or this might be the fourth pressing, but this will make 2,000 copies from my side, not including however many times Nico did it. So
Wow.
it's done pretty well.
Yeah, it's done pretty well. Does any record come to mind that's pressed extremely well? Something that surprised you out of the blue?
I mean, so the second record I did, I pressed 500 of the Rhino Charge record, and then they had an interview in the last Give Me Back zine, I believe was the name of it, which was Ebullition's zine.
Mm-hmm.
And since it was the last issue, and their name was on the cover, I think that pushed them really hard. And Ebullition, being a distributor's, like, knows them, and it helps them to push that at the same time as pushing their own zine. I repressed the record, and then Rhino Charge broke up, and I'm like, oh no, this was a terrible waste of money. But Ebullition asked for like 200 or 300 copies to distribute, and I'm like,
wow, perfect timing.
Okay, like, I assume that they'll end up sending them back to me, but they helped me sell most of the repress that I was scared about. I think the records we've already talked about have been repressed over and over again. ACXDC,
Second Coming.
Yeah.
The Second Coming.
Yeah, my brain. I need more coffee. I killed my coffee, and now the pizza's starting to set in my brain.
It's sinking in your brain, the grease.
That record, the Sex Prisoner record, and the 3-way 10-inch have all just, they sell, repress.
It's pretty consistent.
Yeah, most releases I do a pressing of 500, and I sell enough pretty quickly to where it's justified the pressing, and then I sit on 100 for like a year or two, and then that's the end of it, because it took a year or two to sell the last of them.
Mm-hmm.
But that Coke Bust split, and then the other records I just talked about, have all just sort of been like, okay, I guess we'll repress. Oh, okay, I guess we'll repress.
Oh yeah. Okay, so we have two more. Okay, so I think this band's. Let me see. Okay, yeah. The Regional Justice Center LP. I believe this is their only LP, and from what I gather, I feel like this band's getting pretty popular.
They have another LP, but I think it's considered a EP LP.
Gotcha. Okay.
And I can't remember if that was Closed Casket or I'm spacing on the label that put that out, but yeah, that's a band that they wrote me to get their 7-inch that they put out in my distro. I got them in, they sold pretty fast. I got some more, they sold pretty fast. And then they were like, hey, you want to co-release this LP? And like, we have it recorded here, check it out. And it sounded great. Like, I mean, that's a great sounding LP.
Oh yeah.
Then you see him live, and it makes even more sense. The drummer sings. He plays. When he played in Raleigh, he wore a full jacket during the summer and played like I can't play drums, so I can't look like I'm him. But he plays hard. He hits hard. He plays fast
with a jacket.
With a jacket, just to show that he could, sort of like I did a show for Sex Prisoner where no, I did not do the show. I just saw the video where the singer wore like a full backpack the entire time, just because I think he thought it was funny.
I don't think I've seen that, but that
It was some fest, but it was pretty funny. I appreciate people being weird and quirky with music, just out of their authentic selves being weird. Like, it's funny. Like,
exactly. Thumbs up to winter jackets and backpacks during hardcore shows.
yeah, I think every show I've played in Tired of Everything, except for the one time I forgot, I've worn fingerless gloves because I think it's just really funny. Like
That's
makes
true. I
me,
think I've seen that. Yeah.
it it it's cool as a not very outgoing person to put on a different persona. So I like that feeling a little bit. It gets me charged up a little bit.
For
I've
sure.
got
It
a
just
whole I've got a whole routine that doesn't involve alcohol to get to that level of being ready to perform.
Do you feel like that gives you a bit more of security? Because I've talked to other singers where they have that one thing, like maybe a hat or, as you said, some gloves. It's just you can hide a bit behind it.
Yeah, I've got like a strange routine that includes me taking what is it? I take like an emergency, which is just like a vitamin C like packet drink to
Oh, nice.
get like hyped up a little bit, and then I've got this stuff that is probably vaguely on straight edge called kava kava root.
Mm.
It's just like a hippie thing that's supposed to uh, bring down your anxiety a little bit.
Oh, okay. Okay. It's
Oh no,
called
I said
kava
the wrong
kava?
one.
Okay.
Kava kava does do that, but I take ashwagandha root.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Okay.
It's just like
Ashwagandha.
it's like a hippie anti-anxiety substance.
Is it an actual pill?
I've got this like little vial with a dropper, and I just drop a little bit on my tongue, and I'm sure it does absolutely nothing, but
Okay.
my brain tells me that I should do it for my anxiety and it'll help me. So it's that plus the gloves is my like pre
Your pregame for the show. So you heard it here first. Vitamin C, ashwagandha, and gloves
fingerless
for
gloves. Yeah.
tired of everything. And I was gonna pull out realize, but I
Yep,
think we already covered it.
we did.
Yeah.
And
So
I'm glad you got a copy of that since they got signed to Relapse.
oh
Those things. Not saying I did a bad job selling it, but me being a punk grindcore label, putting out an industrial demo LP, it sat around a little bit.
okay.
But as they signed a Relapse, those picked up, and my stack that was maybe this high of them just went, and
Wow.
they're sold out now. So that was a nice thing, and
Oh yeah.
it's nice to touch sort of the start of maybe like a dynasty for that band. Like it'd be cool if they keep going and maybe they get to I mean, they won't ever be Godflesh, but maybe
Yeah,
they're a known industrial band in the future. Would be cool.
I could see that happening. I actually I originally picked up the tape from I believe RSR, and he told me, "Oh, me and Will are going to be putting this out." This was a long time ago, and on LP, so I have both copies. I still haven't picked up the new LP, but very much looking forward to it.
Yeah. Also, interestingly, just like I've hung out with Nashville and The Kill, I've hung out with Sandro and Sven multiple occasions, and they're very nice people. I've talked
Oh
to
yeah.
Sandro more than Sven. Sven seemed like he was sort of quiet, but
Yeah.
they're nice guys. Hopefully Sandro's not listening to this, but his driving was a little bit scary. I rode in the car with him. Maybe
Where
it's
he might listen to this because I definitely want to get him on as a guest too.
Oh, well, he's a great guy. I like him a lot.
But his driving not so much.
Yeah, I mean, maybe it's a European driving thing. He had a rental car in Texas, and I jumped in to get between a house show and a venue show, and I want to say he just floored it out of there. I'm like,
Oh, it's not a European thing. I assure you, I don't enjoy. I think I drive very well. So if you ever ride with me, I think you'll have a better European experience behind the wheel. And where was this? Where were you guys?
So I have seen Sandro multiple times at This Is For You Fest in Florida.
Hmm.
I've probably seen him at Maryland Death Fest in Maryland, but this was in Austin, Texas during Chaos and Teos, and I only went in 2011.
Okay, so
But
that
he seems to come over a lot for fests.
okay. I wasn't aware. Okay, cool. Yeah, I see him all the time. Just shows, festivals, whatever. Good friend. I consider him a good
Yeah,
friend
he's a
at this
super
point.
nice
Yeah.
guy. I've appreciated him and I traded a lot of records,
Mm-hmm.
and I know it. Like I said about Robbie being very giving, I know it's hard to bring merchandise from Germany over, but he was really nice and had a RSR shirt for me in Florida one time, and I thought that was super nice.
Yeah, that's super nice. All right, so I think we're getting towards the end. I just want to cover two things before we go. First of all, I want to cover some of your latest releases, like the Gasp 7-inch, the Chulo discography, even the exclusive Drop Dead variants you're going to
Yeah.
be doing. Um, anything have these all been released? I think that they all have, except the Chulo discography.
The Chulo just came out maybe the weekend before last. I want to say the 9th was the day I was waiting to make sure that the uh Jacek, I'm bad with saying names, but the UK label that
Oh,
he got his copies. I hate.
Jacek from Grandfather Productions.
Yes, I
Okay.
just felt like I said his name wrong as soon as it came out of my mouth, but it sounded similar the way you said it. So
Yeah,
I hope.
Jacek. Yeah. Good guy.
Um, yeah, I wanted to make sure he had copies before I sent mine to my people, because I know if I I put out records where I'm the last person to get them, and people are like, "Well, I see that everyone in Europe has it. How come I can't get my copy from you that we pre-ordered?" Uh, so that is out. The Gasp EP is out. The Gasp EP is in sort of a small supply because the B side is screen, or not the B side, the poly bag is screen printed on. So it still says it's a pre-order in my website, but it is uh, mostly available. Like, people have been ordering them, and I've been sending them out. I just haven't had
Uh-huh.
the ability to send them to my distributor, just because I have like a small stack of the poly bags that they go in.
Dude, those I saw those poly bags. First of all, it goes super aligned with the music Gasp
Yeah.
makes. It works perfectly. And were you the one that handled this, or did Cynthia or the rest of the crew do this?
The artwork portion is all them. They had a very specific vision, and it's, I think I miscalled it. I accidentally called it lenticular, which
Ah,
it's called a, and I think this is a French word, so I'm probably saying it wrong, but it's called like a moire effect or something. It's like, I've seen it written. I don't know if I'm saying
okay.
it
I
anywhere
don't know
close to
how it's
right,
pronounced or anything. Yeah.
but it does that cool effect as you pull it out of there, and that was all they're doing. This release took a very long time. I've they I think they're a very calculated band, which is good. They make really weird music,
Mm-hmm.
uh, and they want it to sound a particular way. So I think it was a total time of maybe like 4 years between being on the phone with one of the band members, to saying yes to doing the project, to having audio, to finalizing audio, to uh, the records I got pressed up pretty fast, and then they sat around for probably about a year.
Mm-hmm.
The packaging got printed next, and then they did the screen printing, and they like screen printing on a poly bag is
Can be
sort of a
difficult.
dicey
Yeah.
thing. So we had to find the right poly bag weight and then the right kind of ink that'll sit on there. It was a long
So it's been a
process.
slow burn, but it's been worth the wait.
Yeah, I think people are happy with it. I think it was an expensive release. I'm scared to calculate the real price of it. I'm just I think I put them up for sale for $7, hoping that would cover the price of it.
Okay.
Doing a DIY label, I'm not looking to make money, so I try to guess. I want to sell things for what I want to sell them for,
Exactly.
and sometimes that shoots myself in the foot, and it's just sort of whatever. It's a hobby. I work a good IT job during the day. I can lose some money here and there for something I love.
That's good. You have a good mentality about it. I think that's why you've been going so strong since 2005.
Yeah, but one of these days I'll burn out. Like this last week, like I see, I'm speechless. I don't know what to say about it. It was a long week. I'm glad I got through it. I'm glad I got orders out pretty fast, but uh, I wish I had more time to work out without having excuses about needing to do work.
Mm-hmm.
And before COVID, I wish I had more time to spend with friends and do other stuff. But it's I know people have kids and all kinds of other stuff that take their time, and some people work like 60 hours a week at their job and stuff. So I think I'm a workaholic, and I'm always going to have to do something else. So the something else for the last 15 years is shipping stuff most of the time.
Right. Well, I know it sounds like it's been a tough week, and I'm sure these weeks come and go, but I hope just going down memory lane with me helped spark a bit of positivity, reminding you, hell yeah, you know, your label is possibly one of my favorite labels ever, if not my favorite label. So you know,
awesome.
it stays with people, you know.
Yeah, and I try to take inspiration from people around me. Like I I do have my input into the label, and I do have my own original ideas, but I also uh I didn't I didn't grow up around like Slap a Ham, but I've seen how Chris released stuff, and I pay attention to the things I like and the things that feel more DIY. And I mean, I do some of the stuff that it doesn't feel slimy, but it like I've tried to have pre-orders and set them up at the right times and post things at the right time on Instagram and stuff like that that feels less punk feeling, but it's all in alignment to an overarching like DIY goal to me, to where I don't feel like it's slimy or anything like that.
Yeah,
But
and it makes sense. You're just adapting to the times, and it's To Live a Lie does feel like the Slap a Ham of our generation, you know, even all the way
yeah,
here in Europe.
and Chris has been really nice and has mentioned that before, and I appreciate that, because I grew up loving a lot of that stuff, and that a lot of those bands were stair steppers into other bands, and it's cool to work with bands like Gasp that have had releases on that label, and
Exactly. It's like full circle, right?
Yeah, and I put out a band that Chris played bass on. I'm doing a Trappist split as a co-release. I think that's information that's out there. If not, I accidentally leaked it. But
excellent, because I wasn't aware if Trappist was going to be doing more things, because they put out that awesome LP. But
yeah,
I'm excited to hear that.
I wish I don't know if To The Point is doing anything new, but I really liked seeing. I didn't see them live, but I like hearing Chris singing in a band, like I don't know, like
Yeah, it
he's a
seemed he just
he's
has
a
one of the
mainstay.
greatest voices. You know, he has like maybe the happiest smile I've ever seen, but some of them like most pissed off vocals I've ever heard.
Yeah, it's humbling to work with people that are both your friends and then people that are inspirational. Like it's cool to reconnect with Max 625. He'll say that it's all on me that I'm bringing him up to the new ways of how things are run in 2020 because he hadn't really run 625 very. He sort of did it less hands-on and was putting out stuff and having ebullition sell them, but I think he's very interested in my ideas for how to keep things relevant, and he runs a really good Instagram page to keep information out there.
Okay, what's that Instagram page? I'm not aware of this page.
He just has a 625 thrash
Oh, that one.
Instagram account.
Okay,
Yeah.
gotcha. So before we leave, I wanted to cover. Let's leave on a high note. Let's talk a bit. We covered a bit of Tired of Everything, but I'd like to know how COVID has affected the band, and if you have any future plans with Tired of Everything.
So with COVID-19, if you've only heard our first recording, our guitar player moved away randomly, and we have a different guitar player. But I believe our current guitar player has been going up to Virginia for work because I believe he was furloughed at his job here, and he's from Virginia Beach, so I think he's been going up towards Virginia and doing some work. So he's been not very available. I've personally been social distancing too much to a fault because I'm a antisocial
Likewise.
person. It seems safe. I mean, specifically the area I am uh, in North Carolina is a college town. You can easily walk out your front door, go down the street, and find a party of people not wearing masks. It's sort of frightening. Until recently, our president has been like not wearing mask and not concerned about it until maybe 2 months ago. So everyone's like, oh, it's fine to not wear a mask. Our big honcho president is not doing it. But anyway,
Gotcha.
we haven't really practiced. So I'm decent at writing music and doing stuff remotely. Like it's easy enough for me to take my smartphone and like stand it up on the dresser and write a guitar riff um, if needed. But being the singer, I've been trying to enjoy being the singer, which is I don't have to load in equipment unless I really feel like helping bandmates. Um, and uh, I'm the singer, so like I can't sit there and write a song as they're writing a song. And I've only written one song for the guitar parts.
Okay.
So I could write some songs and send them to the band, but being the singer, I feel like the guitar player and bass player can figure that out. But I don't think they do a lot of that in their free time. So uh, long-winded story, we haven't really done like it's pretty much paused the band through this whole thing. Uh, I've been trying to get us together to record a cover song, and I've been trying to limit my availability. I'm like, y'all figure out a cover. I'll come in after you got it and record it, and then record my vocals later. But uh, we're a little fragmented with our guitar player going out of town, and me trying to be overly safe, and then me trying not to be the band mother and say y'all should do this. I'm the singer, I don't need to be there, just do it. And it hasn't really worked. But
Gotcha.
I think we're just one of those bands that's a casual band. Like,
Overall,
'cause-
having a good time, just taking it as it goes. It has an organic feeling to it, you know.
yeah, I'm not trying to sound negative towards music. I wouldn't say we're having. It sounds bad to say. I don't think we're having a good time. We're all very awkward. We all have like many anxiety attacks for even playing small shows. We sometimes are running late to stuff. Like it's a band of people not functioning very well, but I think that's why it works okay and works well. It
That's
we don't
awesome. You
miss.
found each other then, you know. You know?
Yeah, yeah. We need like a leading force that really puts us together, and I could be that force, but with a leadership role at my day job and with me running a label and stuff, I don't really want that responsibility.
Yeah, maybe take just a bit the backseat. Take it easy with this band. All
Yeah, so I I love the recordings we've done. I think it shows my vocals better than I feel like I can do vocals. A bit of backstory: the first EP, the guy we went to record to, I love the way he records, but he's very stringently against punch in recording. He wants it to be sort of like a living document. Like the guitar, like we set up to play everything else live, and then I went and did vocals, but if I messed up, he would just roll the track back. There was no punching in, punching out, which me
that
recording myself, including like me having a microphone here and I've got a nicer one in my closet, I will heavily try to utilize punching in, punching out, because to me, a recording, so a recording should be your best version of you, whether you can do it or not, because uh, I'm not super confident with me being a musician. I can do it. I I do enjoy singing in a band. It's a totally different, strange, uncomfortable experience for me that I finally feel that I can do it and I can do it okay. But I don't mind there being recording tricks to make me sound better than I can maybe do, which makes sense. I mean, like I'll crap on a band that's fine to crap on because they're big enough. Like I've seen John Joseph's Cro-Mags plenty of times, and he, like, I don't. Lots of people worship that band and worship that one recording, but
Mhm.
he definitely like does too much like calisthenic type running and stuff on the stage that his vocals come across terribly. And I'm sure if the recording studio recorded him in one take like that, it would not be the ideal recording for his version of the Cro-Mags. So I would want them to record punching in, punching out, taking multiple days, etc. Um,
Gotcha. Like, but it's punching in, punching out is definitely working for you right now. I mean, this recording sounds great, and you know,
uh,
you never know. Maybe someday, naturally, you can pull it off where you don't feel like you need to do that. You know.
yeah, so I recorded Tired of Everything for our second sort of EP. I went to our practice space. I've got this Zoom recorder with multiple XLR inputs and tried to set everything the best I could, and then did the vocals for it. And I actually changed my vocal style for, like, I did the vocals the way I naturally thought I did and I did on the first record and how I did live, to realizing I really feel like my vocal range was I mean, I feel like my voice in general sounds higher pitched than it sounds in my head.
Mm-hmm.
Like I feel like I've got like a
Gotcha.
middle normal guy speaking voice, but I think it's just a little higher than that.
Mm-hmm.
And it gets a little higher when I sing. So I tried to adjust my register down, and I was like, oh man, this sounds great. I love this.
Oh
So
yeah.
I went I recorded it one way, and because I have a microphone in my closet and a computer right here, I could mess around with stuff, and I heard a way that I liked better, and that ended up being the final tracks the way I liked it. And I assume that I'm going to sing in the future at a deeper register, but I think the last times I played, actually our tape might have come out after COVID, so I don't think we've played shows
Mm-hmm.
since then. This was all long-winded to say I recorded a band after our band once I felt like I could record a band
Mm-hmm.
and not just take their money and not know what I was doing and have something like waste their day of recording. But their singer came in and did stuff in like mainly one shot, and uh, I assume that just takes some time, or maybe he's got natural talent. But I'm not too worried if the recordings sound good, even if it's not 100% natural. Like a lot of punk is really seen in the live show, and I feel like
Exactly.
we've got a
Yep.
couple live recordings that are good enough. Um, I mean, I don't know what I'm doing. I don't know how to control my voice and have a like exciting live show. So you've probably seen me do the youth crew jumps that I tried to do.
Yeah,
Um,
I've seen that video.
and sometimes my voice cracks a little bit because I think that I can do this because it looks like it's going to be cool, but then I've done something to the way my vocal cords spread out and it sounds weird. So it's still just a continuum of me learning and
Exactly.
getting better.
It all sounds very normal to me because I think you're more used to bass and doing vocals is kind of new. So yeah, that it all makes sense. This is uh, I'm the singer as well, so I all of these things you're saying I can relate, but I've just been doing it for some time. So you just
Yeah.
keep growing, you learn, and just for the record, I could totally dig the new Tired of Everything sounding with you having deeper vocals. That would be cool, as you said. I think that would sound
Yeah,
really cool.
it's the album that's got like the hands with the knives. That's the one that
Okay,
I
gotcha,
lowered it a little bit.
gotcha,
It
gotcha.
sounds um I know most people expect me to be in like a grind band or a power violence band because of my label, but I grew up on Youth Crew, and I feel like we this band people have called Youth Crust because I think of the influence of my other band members. Just Matt, our bass player, just loves loading up the bass guitar like with nasty sludgy tones. So I think that just uh I think him in the band gives us that grittier sound specifically, where I think without him we might sound more like a youth crew band because that's the way my vocals go. And uh i think the I think the way Eli plays drums sounds a little youth crewy. uh but I don't mind not being in a power violence or a grindcore band. I don't think I can growl, so i don't I don't think I would fit in a grindcore band. But I also think crossing genres is interesting. Like
For sure.
people love that band Fucked Up,
Hmm.
and that's like an indie band with hardcore vocals. Like I think generally crossing genres is interesting.
For sure, for sure. I think
So
and youth crust sounds like the perfect fit. And
yeah.
anything else you want to share about Tired of Everything?
We have shirts for for sale because I made non-black shirts and people don't buy non-black shirts.
It's the youth
I just
crust way to go.
yeah, I just would like people to hear my band. Like I think that's the I don't care about selling stuff. Like like I said, we're a pretty easygoing band. I think all my bandmates get really excited about things. So I think generally people just checking us out is really cool. We got a shout out on Axe to Grind podcast, and I know the rest of the band like totally flipped out about that. So I'm sure they'll be super excited to be mentioned on here, and maybe
Oh yeah.
some more people listening to our stuff. The other thing is, I feel like just being heard is great. I would like people to feel free to like file share our stuff. Like any bands I'm in, just put it online. That's great to me. Put them on SoulSeek, put it on
Everywhere.
whatever.
Spread the seed. You heard it here first. Vitamin C, gloves, lousy hunters, donuts, and spread the tired of everything.
Bootleg this crap.
Bootleg.
Put out our Spain tape.
Exactly. Let's make it happen. So, Will, thank you so much. It's been awesome. Just thank you for giving me 2 hours and 18 minutes of your life to go.
For sure.
Yeah, to go down memory lane and share all of these awesome stories. Would you be down at some point in the future to do a part 2?
Yeah, definitely. I enjoyed this. I didn't expect you to pull all these records out. It felt like watching Nardwar. Like,
oh
you're
yeah,
not as jittery to me. I don't know what your ending is going to be, because I haven't unfortunately watched or listened to your other ones. So I don't know if you're going to do the freeze frame or not, but you could surprise me at the end here, for all I know.
Okay, let's end it this way. Do.
That's about as long as I want to do that.
Exactly.
Man, it's your boy Project Pata behind the blade, man. You know what I'm saying? And man, you know, sometimes, man, you gotta watch it, man. You know what I'm saying? You rather be behind the blade than in front of the blade, because you get in front of the blade, you're gonna get cut. You know what I'm saying? Hey man, it's going down, man. Your boy Project Pata behind the blade.
What up? What up? What up? What up? That was Tired of Everything's Behind the Blade off their latest EP entitled Behind the Blade as well. You can pick that up on cassette off the To Live a Lie web store. I'm pretty sure they're all out of the last cut 8 inches, but definitely pick up a tape, or maybe even a black or red t-shirt if you will. What a great guy, Will. That rhymes, haha. What a great guy, Will. That was a really fun and long conversation. We'll definitely be doing a part 2 at some point because hells yeah. Very much looking forward to our next guest, which is Matt from Horror Boobs. Matt specializes in supplying and delivering us with some of the finest horror VHS, obscurities, rarities the world has never seen, mostly shot on video. So I'm excited about that because it's going to be my first non-musical guest, even though he does front the thrash crossover punk hardcore band Eat Lead. So more on that next week or in the near future. Ba 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 ba.